Welcome to eMTB videos. Orbea updated their Wild FS for 2020. The old model was pretty short, tall and steep. That has changed for 2020. The new Wild FS is a very different bike. The geometry is looking modern, with a 76 degrees seat angle and a 65.5 degrees head angle. The test bike is a size large. Its reach measurement of 455 mm is perhaps a bit short for a size large, and when we factor in the steep seat angle, we get a bike that feels somewhat small for a size large. And there is a reason for that. The Wild FS doesn't come in size medium. There are 3 frame sizes. The smallest one is a small/medium. Judging by the specs, I'd say it's a slightly big size small. Then there's the aforementioned size large. And finally, it's the extra large. Chainstay length is 455 mm. This has almost become the standard length for a 29er eMTB. And the 345 mm bottom bracket height is also a normal figure these days. I'm considering it a happy medium. Sure, it could be lower, but it works well on the Wild FS. I'm climbing rough sections without worrying about pedal strikes, and the 455mm chainstays puts the rider a bit forward on the bike, ensuring great climbing abilities. The test bike is the entry-level H25. H tells us it's an alloy frame. It's the same bike as the even cheaper H30, but with a bigger 625 Wh battery. Studying the specs, it could seem like Orbea has made a few shortcuts to keep the price low. It's got the really great dual caliper Shimano MT520 brakes, but Orbea went with the cheaper RT30 brake rotors, and the rear rotor is just 180 mm. Still, braking performance is good. H25 has got the new Shimano 12-speed drivetrain, SLX shifter and XT derailleur, but they picked a Sunrace all-steel 1151 teeth cassette over the Shimano SLX cassette. I guess this is cutting a bit of cost, since they can use a standard old-fashioned hub, and not the more expensive microspline hub required for the Shimano 12-speed cassettes. And this can be felt. Shifting performance is suffering a bit. I've compared the bike head-to-head with another bike running the SLX cassette, and shifting under load is nowhere near as good. Also, the SRAM SX 12-speed is better for shifting under load. Still, I think this setup works just as well as the old Shimano SLX 11-speed, so it's not a huge deal. Also, Orbea has opted for the old-fashioned wheel spoke magnet, and the battery cover seems a bit basic compared to most competitors. Removing and installing the battery can be a bit cumbersome. There are no clamps holding the cables inside the frame. It's just this flexible plastic sheet pressing the cables towards the frame. If you make sure none of the cables are too long, then there is little to no cable rattle. If the cables are too long, they might be blocking the battery, making battery installation difficult or even impossible. I just zip-tied the internal cables together to make sure they stayed in place. Another thing to be aware of is the dropper post lengths. The size large frame has got a 444mm seat tube. This is quite short and should work well with a 150mm dropper. But the dropper post can't be pushed all the way into the frame. There is still like an inch or 25mm of seat post showing in the lowest position. This means you need an inside leg length, or inseam, of about 86 cm. Orbea will deliver the bike with various seat post lengths though. If your legs are shorter, you should ask for a shorter dropper. The Wild FS has got the new 2020 Bosch Performance CX motor with the Purion display and the big 625 Wh battery. And there is hardware available to fit another 500 Wh external battery.
The bike itself is quiet on the descents, but there is a bit of rattle from the new Bosch motor. So noise from the Wild FS while descending is about average. For some reason, Orbea went with a 32 teeth chainring, and not the standard 34 teeth Bosch chainring. When running a 51 teeth cassette, 32 teeth up front seems a bit too small. I would rather they picked the 36 teeth chainring. You would still have low enough gears and you would be riding more on the bigger cogs on the cassette, thus reducing drivetrain wear. But it's not all shortcuts. The cockpit has got nice race face components, and the tires are among my favorites, the Maxxis Minions, in 29 by 2.6 inches, DHF for the front and DHR2 at the back. Both is 3C XO+. Rear suspension with the Fox Float Performance Evil Shock pedals well. Fork is the RockShox 35 Gold RL. A lot of entry-level eMTBs are running this fork for 2020. At the car park you can easily feel the fork stiction. It takes a bit of force to get the fork moving. But on the trail this sensation disappears. It seems stiction isn't much of an issue deeper in the travel. Sure, it's not as smooth as the Yari, and it's got fewer tweaking options. But it really is a solid fork that keeps performing in the rough. Even though the entry-level H25 weighs just a hair under 25 kilos, without pedals, and even though it's a 160mm travel bike, it's a surprisingly quick and nimble bike on the flat trails. I believe this is down to the 1232mm wheelbase, which is somewhat short for a size large bike. Here the bike feels comfortable and responds well enough to rider input. So it's a great climber and surprisingly enjoyable on the flat sections. So how will this slightly compact bike perform on the descents? Very well, I'd say. Running big 29er wheels you can straight line rough stuff, and the front end can be lifted easily enough to pick your desired line, or to drop off ledges. But most of all, it's a confidence-inspiring and stable descender. I can only imagine how the more expensive models would perform. Dropping a bit of weight and having more high-end suspension would probably suit this frame very well. But even the entry-level models are proper, capable, trail-worthy eMTBs.